this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Walsh?
Here.
Commissioner Doherty?
Here.
Commissioner Strack?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Here.
Commissioner Meyer?
Here.
Commissioner Sabota?
Here.
Commissioner Thacker?
Here.
Thank you, Tim. At this time, I'd like to open the public input of the meeting. The public portion that we're talking about at this time would be anyone who would like to speak in regards to a non-agenda item. So we have 3 items on the docket tonight to review. There will be a public portion for each one of those items that are here before us tonight. So you'll have an opportunity to speak if it's an agenda item. If you're here tonight to speak about a non-agenda item, please step to the podium.
My name is Frank Serpico. I'm out of Chesapeake Hills.
Frank,
I've been in the
may I-
county about 23.
Sir, may I please swear you in?
Chesapeake Hills, Frank Serpico.
Can I swear you in, please? Would you raise your right
Absolutely.
hand? Thank you, sir. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address for us.
Frank
Thank you.
Serpico, 5608 Chesapeake Drive in McHenry.
Okay.
Okay, just in passing. My wife and I do a lot of gambling, okay? If you go from the train station and draw a circle, okay, and take half a mile, go with the radius. I count 19 gambling places, all right? That's number one. Number two, there are a lot of multi-family violations in the city of McHenry. I don't know if you fellas ever look at the one just to the east of Happy Jacks. There are 8 cars there at night, okay, and it looks like a shame. I can't do anything about it, somebody's got it. And then you people can't probably either, but somebody's got to look at it. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it. Thank you. Anyone else on a non-agenda item this evening? At this time, I'd like to close the public portion. This time, I move on to number 5 on the agenda, consideration of the approval of the meeting minutes from March 7th, March 14th, and April 4th of this year. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Mark.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make a correction. The 2 special meetings, the March 7th and the April 4th, they note that Commissioner Bromley is in attendance instead of Commissioner Walsh. So I would just like to say, strike Commissioner Bromley and Commissioner Walsh, and with that change, consider a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. At this time, I'd be looking for a motion as amended.
Probably, Walsh will have them all.
And you could make one motion for all 3, I should say.
Excellent. Thank you, Doug. Mr. Walsh, would that be for all 3 of those?
For all 3, sir.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Doherty. Clerk, please call the roll.
This is for the March 7th minutes. Commissioner Walsh?
This is actually for all 3.
All three, yeah.
All 3.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm sorry, it's for all 3, sorry. Commissioner Walsh?
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty?
Yes.
Commissioner Strack?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Abstain.
Commissioner Meyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Sabota?
Yes, but I have to abstain on the 14th.
And Commissioner Thacker?
Yes for March 7th, and I abstain for March 14th as well as April 4th.
It's okay.
Excellent. Thank
If it
you.
was anything other than minutes, we'd get hung up on that, but I think we got it straight.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open file Z927. The applicant is Mike Dumel, Jetco Investments LLC. 11624 Barbary Lane in Huntley, Illinois, 60142. The requested action is a conditional use permit for an expanded site plan review in accordance with the downtown overlay district to allow a restaurant, bar, outdoor seating with alcohol and food service, live music and entertainment. The location of the subject property is 1260 Green Street on the corner of Green Street and Elm Street. Good. I do have in my possession the return receipts from the adjacent properties along with an affidavit signed by the applicant along with the publication notice from the Northwest Herald. Thank you, Doug. Gentlemen, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please state your name and addresses for the record.
Charles Bennett, CBJ Architects, 3521 Wintergreen in Algonquin.
Thank you.
Mike Canali, 11624 Barbary Lane, Huntley, Illinois.
Joel Lopez,
A17 Melrose Court, McElry, Illinois.
Great, thank you. Tell us why you're here tonight.
We're here to get a permit to be able to serve alcohol and food and some live entertainment outside the resident, or outside the restaurant that we're proposing, Jexel, on the corner of 1260 North Green. Is that correct?
Yeah. Excellent, thank you so much. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to staff for his report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The requested action is a conditional use permit for an expanded site plan review in accordance with the downtown overlay district to allow restaurant, bar, outdoor seating with alcohol and food service, live entertainment, and music. The property has been home to numerous uses in the past. The building was ultimately destroyed by fire. The applicant would like to construct approximately 4,700 square foot restaurant with a bar, outdoor seating, and alcohol and food service, and as I said, live music, entertainment. Downtown revitalization has been a priority for the city for many years, and the city's done many things in the past to try to facilitate that, including the establishment of an overlay district. And there's two processes we have, an administrative review and an expanded site plan review. The administrative review is kind of a staff review, and the expanded review is a conditional use permit or a public hearing process is what they're going through today. And that is conditioned upon the applicant doing something in conformance with the downtown plan, the design guidelines, the use being compatible with the adjacent properties, etc. There's a bunch of criteria listed in the zoning ordinance. And the property zone C4, so it's 0 lot line. And the part of the zoning ordinance that they don't comply with exactly is the outdoor seating. Now, you're allowed to have outdoor seating, but they want to have some entertainment and service of food and alcohol outside in conjunction with their restaurant. So this is typical in a downtown area. They have a very well-designed building, very well-designed outdoor area adjacent to their building, be on the west side, on the south side. And the use is consistent with the city's core downtown sub-area plan and the goals for downtown revitalization. The applicant will also is doing major facade enhancements. The building is very consistent with that of a downtown. It's very architecturally pleasing with an old downtown neighborhood type feel. So they've done a really good, compliment the architect, very good job designing the space. It's an infill project, and I think it'll fit well with the downtown. So at this time, staff would recommend approval of the conditional use permit for an expanded site plan review in accordance with the downtown overlay to allow the restaurant, bar, outdoor seating with alcohol and food service with live music and entertainment to develop on the subject property in substantial conformance with the site plan submitted subject. And I've listed several conditions. The one I'll point out is that it's pretty consistent with what we've done with other restaurants downtown, and that's limit the outside entertainment to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday and 11 p.m. Friday through Sunday. And that's pretty consistent with the other restaurants downtown, just to be respectful because there are residents downtown. The outside seating will be enclosed, not totally enclosed, but just kind of give an enclosure of the space so people are aware that they are outside. They just can't go wander with alcohol and stuff like that. So at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Doug, I appreciate that. At this time, I'd like to turn the questions over to the commissioners.
Entertainment, what do you plan on?
I think a similar example would be like what you hear at the Village Square. Mostly
like
it's
guitar
good
player.
guitar player. We're not doing anything with many piece bands. We also will have it volume controlled via a sound system.
Okay.
You know, we've struggled with that in other places, so we want to make sure we have a better, and the place loud so everyone hears. You got volume by speakers.
All right, so you're talking 1, 2 people?
Yeah, 1 or 2 people, and then, you know, if there's anything like for a holiday, say New Year's or
Sure.
something, we'll pull a permit or whatever.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Mr. Walsh, any questions?
None at this time.
Thank you. Commissioner Thacker, do you have any questions?
No.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller?
No questions.
Commissioner Sabota? Commissioner Doherty?
The band, when they would play, where would they be set up?
Okay, so we have an indoor and an outside area, so
Okay.
outside is what I think we're talking about. So ideally, we'd like the band, and again, we're flexible to whatever you guys want, but ideally, we'd like the band to be on the west, on Green, like between Green Street, the cafe side, and the back side, so that the people that are walking on Green Street could enjoy it, but at the same time, you know, both sides of the patio could get.
Both sides of the patio?
Yeah, you know, so this way we don't have to blare it from one side, you know, we
Right.
wanna be able to have it balanced.
And then what do you show for the walkway, for pedestrians who would be walking by?
There's a full sidewalk, I'm checking.
Yeah, there's, I mean,
Does it look like
The-
7 foot or?
the sidewalk is existing, it's there, it's more than 7 foot, it's probably closer to 10 foot.
Nice.
The cafe is completely on our property, we're not asking.
Got it, okay,
Yeah, and the building is set back a little bit, so
Yeah.
it's not right up like it was before.
nice, okay.
We have it inset.
And with the pergola structure there, we have a masonry and metal fencing there, so it provides the patrons with some level of protection, at least feels for that. And it gives some ambiance to the exterior facade of the street as well.
Got it.
Yeah, we kinda had 4 goals with that, was one, to fit in really well with the Riverwalk, with the gazebo, right? And then also to provide some level of safety for, people when they're sitting in there with kind of the traffic stuff that's been going on out in the world today. And also, you know, kids won't be able to get out or something of that nature, cause that part of Green is a little, you know, a little bit more busy. And, also people control, so that, you know, we can monitor what they're doing.
Got it.
Especially, you know, anything to do with drinking. And then also the facade kinda, blends in with Newman Park as well, with their terrace look.
Commissioner Miller? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So, if I can just visit the parking for a second.
Sure.
How many employees do you anticipate employing?
On a shift, at our max, we may have 18 or 20.
Will be around that,
Yeah.
18 or 20. And three of them will be mainly on their cars by doing deliveries. So we are planning, we've been thinking about the whole parking, being the problem from downtown for a while. Like we know we have like across the street, like behind the Green Street Cafe, the space they can use. We know, like if you go behind the Gambler, we have 2 areas of parking. And also now after theater build up is more space, so we are, I think we got a decent relationship with the buildings right next to it. And they have their own parking, so we can be always like some sort of deal for the nighttime as a lease because they don't, there's a insurance company, there's a loan to waive. We can always ask for an option to let us use some of their parking.
As far as
for employees.
employee parking, we'll have a policy where the employees, we don't want them parking on Green Street. Our whole process of building this was to keep Green Street clear. The takeout and the delivery will all happen in the back of the building. We designed it that way. So that people will be able to keep Green Street clean, you know, especially particularly that corner. And obviously the parking in there is precious anyway on that particular street. So, as we do now in another situation, we try to keep our employees parking at least over by the bank, right? And then we are also, I'm in talks with a person named Randy Marcelli, who is the owner of VIP Valet, and I'm trying to get an understanding what that might look like so that we can provide a better experience for especially older folks and people that are, you know, when the weather's bad, maybe they may have a valet choice. I'm not finished with that yet. It's early, so I think it's important.
There's 7 spots behind the building.
Mhm.
Are you gonna dedicate one of those to takeout?
We're gonna dedicate at least 3 to drivers, so we have our delivery back there, and the rest will be for takeout and a handicap.
Okay. So very limited on site.
Yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner Drew, did you have another question, sir?
I have one. Restaurant open, 11 a.m. We got gaming at 9 a.m.?
We could potentially open gaming at 9 a.m. because we have the proper people in the building to do that. It's not our big priority. It's just when I was doing the business plan for the loan and all that, I put everything in there so that if there was any clarity, yeah, I just left it in there, you know.
Okay.
So that was really why that was in there that way. And again, we took great strengths to build the gaming completely out of view of anybody dining, youths, families, and in a spot, obviously we have to have it in vicinity of the bartender, but it is built, you cannot see it from the front, a window, or the dining area of the restaurant. Frankly, I'm not a big gaming guy, but it's sort of, it's a lot of money to build this thing. So.
That was all.
Thank you, Jim. Commissioner Miller, did you have another question?
No, I'm good.
Anyone else?
I have one more.
Yes, Commissioner Meyer.
The railing on top of the building, decorative strictly, right?
No, not necessarily.
Is there upstairs seating?
No, we
Okay.
have to screen the mechanical equipment out.
Okay.
So we thought we'd implement it, bring it into the design instead of just putting screens along the curbs of the mechanical unit, so we want to be, you know,
Okay.
has to be part of it.
Yeah, I was just kind of confused.
Yeah, it was equipment screening, and rather than making it look
That
like
looks
it, we
good.
thought build it into the
Good.
building, make it look nicer.
All right, thank you.
Additional questions, concerns before I go to the calendar? Excellent. At this time, I'd like to open the public portion of the meeting. Anyone in the gallery who'd like to speak on this agenda item, please step to the podium. Seeing no movement, I will close the public portion of the meeting. Turn it back over to questions from the commissioners.
I have one. I noticed Mr. Doherty was flipping through the menu. Maybe you didn't see the footnote. There's a requirement that you guys bring in samples of food for people. You missed
Starting
that.
from the left here and go down.
Right.
We'll be doing plenty of that.
Right.
Depends on who's left you're talking about.
I'll have Joel start on one side, and I'll start on the other. Chuck will be in the middle.
Any additional questions or concerns from the commissioners? If not, I'd be looking for a motion.
I will make a motion for approval of the conditional use permit for an expanded site plan review in accordance with the downtown overlay district to allow a restaurant, bar, outdoor seating with alcohol and food service, live music and entertainment to develop on the subject property in substantial conformance with the site plan submitted subject to the following conditions, conditions 1 through 6. Staff finds the application is in conformance with the purpose and intent, goals, and criteria for review in the DOD ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Additional questions or concerns before we call roll? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Walsh?
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty?
Yes.
Commissioner Strack?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Sabota?
Yes.
Commissioner Thacker?
Yes.
Good luck.
Excellent, thank you.
Well, thank
That'll
you
be in
very
touch.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to close file Z927.
Are those the two daughters? Are
They
those
are,
Jack's
yes.
daughters? Okay.
Jessica and Alexa.
Jackson did it. You brought good luck.
Yeah, you ladies are gonna be famous in a couple months.
Before I open the next case, could I please see a show of hands? And who's here for the public hearing for the property located at Ringwood Road and Route 120? And the remaining portion of the audience, are you here for the property at South 31 in Dayton? Okay. It is a wash, sir, thank you. At this time, I'd like to open file Z926. Excuse me, the applicant is Speedway LLC, 539 South Main Street, Findlay, Ohio, 45840. The requested action is annexation into the city of McHenry and a zoning map amendment to C2, neighborhood commercial upon annexation into the city of McHenry. A conditional use permit for a gas station, variance for an automobile service station to be located within 600 feet, of another service station. A variance to allow 25 parking stalls in the front of a convenience store without a parking lot island. Variance to allow for no landscaping around the building foundation. Also a variance for the larger driveway width, along Ringwood Road for the truck exit. The location of the subject property is the northwest corner of Route 120 and Ringwood Road, about 3 acres of the northern half of the parcel. I do have the return receipts from the adjacent property owners, along with the signed affidavit from the petitioner and the publication notice from the Northwest Herald. Just to correct my location of the subject property, it is located on the northwest corner of Illinois Route 120 and Ringwood Road, excluding about 3 acres of the northern half of the parcel. Are we settled, gentlemen?
We are?
Excellent. If you're not an attorney and need to be sworn in, please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please state your names and addresses for the record.
My name is Chris Kulishevsky from WT Group. We're the site architects and engineers for this project.
My name is Frank Petrich from WT Group. Our address is 2675 Pradham Avenue, Hoffman Estates, Illinois.
And I'm Robert Schroeder with Speedway, and our address is 8200 185th Street in Tinley Park, Illinois.
Great, thank you so much. Gentlemen, tell us why you're here tonight.
We're here this evening to present a project on the corner of Illinois 120 and Ringwood. And if it's all right, if I could just walk up there and make some
Absolutely.
presentation. So basically, we have this site, and I'll be rotating to the crowd. to show. But our site is 7.59 acres. And basically, that is our site from there to. So just want to show that we're only developing less than 50% of the development. So from this dotted line, or this dotted line, up to here is 400 feet. And the top 150 feet will be a berm, as you can see here, that ranges in height from 5 to 6 feet from this side, and actually ranges 10 feet, 12 feet on this side. We're proposing to maintain all the landscaping along the north property line as we can. We will be removing what's there, an existing storage building and existing garage, so we'll be taking that down. But our intent is to leave all the old trees there, provide a very nice buffer with this berm, then the additional green space, and then you'll see the trees that are lining our detention area, which will be fully with wetland plantings and detention throughout the whole area.
You know, it might be worthwhile for you to actually show those people that, because I doubt that they know that.
Okay.
All of these, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So why don't you take it right up to that group over there? They seem to be the most people. Just for a minute and tell them what's going on.
Okay. You know, this is our development from here all the way up to here. And what we're developing is just the front half of the site. The back half of the site, where the storage building is and where the garage are, those will be going down, but the old trees will remain. And we'll be putting in a nice 5 to 6 foot high berm from the north side, and again 10 to 12 from the south side. And this will be all grass, and then our trees start along our detention area, then our detention area, and then our development. And so we have a lot of buffers going all the way through that development.
Thank you.
What we also want to emphasize is that we are asking for some variances that we'll get into in a little bit more detail, but really from a setback standpoint, we're not asking for any variances. From an FRA, a floor area ratio, FAR ratio, we are actually 1/70th the density allowed. I.e., technically, we could be proposing something 70 times more dense than what we're proposing. So what we're trying to state here is we have developed a lot of speedway facilities adjacent to residences and even across from schools. The most recent one was in Belvedere. We have a very good working relationship with Belvedere. They've actually asked us to put a crosswalk in it, and it's working out very nice from that perspective. But as you can see, this whole site is going to be highly landscaped. The variances that we're asking for is no foundation landscaping. I'll explain why we're asking for that, and to get a variance for the one island that would have to be landscaping. And what we want to emphasize is that for every variance that we're asking for, we know that we need to give up something, or at least show that we're trying to meet the intent of the code. So any landscaping that was required for the foundation landscaping hasn't been eliminated, we've just relocated. So it's along this side here, and it's along here. It's on the side here, and it's on this side here. So what we've done is on the foundation landscape part, we have actually, because the function of our building is mandating, in a retail environment where people park and walk directly into the building, they do the straight beeline. And if you've got landscaping in there, you know what you're going to get. Because the code, your code actually said we should have 10 feet of landscaping in front of this building. We are just going to have rabbit trails through all that landscaping. So we're not asking not to do the landscaping, we're just asking to relocate it on the site. And so that's what we're doing here. We have a seating area on the side here, an outdoor cafe, so we're defining that with the landscaping. That would have been along the side of this building. We're providing a little buffer between the building and the trash enclosure, so we're taking that landscaping that would be here and putting it there. The landscaping that was in the back, we're distributing here and here, and then finally the landscape in the front, we're putting in this area here. Technically, per your code, we would, because our building's 90 feet long, we would have to have 3 trees in front of our building. And again, that, just from a pragmatic standpoint of having a tree between the gasoline pumps and the customers would be very arduous. And so that is the unique situation. You have 7 bullet points that you require for a proof of variance. And I'd like to just just briefly touch on that. The special circumstances, that's just it. It's the type of business that's requiring that. The other variance that we're asking for is you have every 15 spaces, you need a landscape island. So if I put a landscape island right in here, I think it's gonna look actually kind of funny. And so we've defined the landscape, we've defined the parking with landscape on both sides, and technically put the landscaping that's required, the 1 tree, we put the 1 tree over there. So again, we're not eliminating the landscape, we're just relocating it. So we're trying to meet the intent of the code, but this being, we understand like for big Walmart parking lots and stuff like that, where you have rows of 50 parking spaces, we understand the need of separating that, getting it a little more aesthetic, more human scale. Here, we're just 25. We're a small little building, 4,600 square feet with 25, and we've moved the parking to the side. So that's a special circumstance, the type of building that we are. The circumstance relate to the property only, it relates in the sense of the function of the business itself. And so the not resulting from the applicant action, this is kind of typical for all type of retail environments, small, like even the QSR. You don't see the McDonald's with 10 feet of landscaping and 3 trees in front and then the parking. It's right at the building. It's just for the convenience of the customer. Unnecessary hardship. The hardship is, as you can see, yes, we have room to do it, but to have the 10 feet and have our customers walk through the dirt because you know they're gonna make the straight line is a hardship. We preserve the rights conferred by the district. I think that's really, you can really, if you're allowing us to do this, you can see we're taking the efforts and we're putting the landscape, quite frankly, in a more aesthetically pleasing space on both sides of the building and defining the building in a better way. And so that's point 5 and point 6 and 7, necessary for the use of the property. Just again, function of the use, the way people will walk into the store and treat it. Will not alter the local character. I mean that, whether there's a landscape island in here or a landscape in the front here versus what we're proposing, I don't think it affects the whole character. But our overall development, as when we get into it, we'll see is high quality materials, very well thought out landscaping, and very well thought out access points. And then consistent with the ordinance and plan, we are C2 zoning. It's a conditional use, a gas station business. And the minimum variance recommended, we're trying to keep this area, we're trying to keep this development as far to the 120 as we can, as far away from the residents as we can. So that is really showing us by giving us this variance, we're actually allowing us to accomplish that. And so that's the variance aspects of it. As you know, this piece of property is agriculture and it's out of your jurisdiction right now. We want to annex it, we want it to make it a functioning tax-producing property. And so what we're proposing here is a 4,600 square foot C-store. We have an inline auto canopy with 8 dispensers. And then we have just 2 lanes for CFLs, which stands for commercial fueling lanes. And so what we do very purposely is we separate the auto and the truck traffic as soon as we can, and for two reasons. What makes a retail petroleum site successful is, one, convenience, and two, perceived and actual safety. And so we want to make this easy to get in and out for our customers and easy for them on site to feel safe. So this is an entry point on 120 here. Auto customers will pull in here. They are able to pull out if they wish, but the majority will come back down here. This is the most important part. Truck access to the site is only off of Route 120. This is an entrance for the trucks to come through back here. They'll make a right-hand turn lane, and they'll be focused on the CFL lanes. Again, it's only a 2-lane CFL lane. This is not a truck stop with 7 trucks or 10 trucks. It's just 2 lanes, two trucks. And yes, we've designed it for semi-trucks to be able to safely maneuver it. But quite frankly, we know it's going to be the day travelers that are in the neighborhood already, coming out of the quarry and all that stuff. And it's the landscape trucks with their trailers and that. So it's that day type use. There is no truck amenities being offered here. There's no showers, there's not a full service sit down restaurant, there's not a trucking desk, etc. There's no parking, overnight parking to be allowed at all in here. So this is not a truck stop, it is a gas station. So we are making it available for those who use diesel. And we separate those from the auto. Now, you'll notice this angle. We could easily made the site plan face this way, perpendicular to Ringwood. We purposely made it parallel to 120 so that the trucks are already forced and going down right, because we know the majority of our customers are coming off of 120. Just from our traffic study, you've seen it in the traffic study, it said where the trucks are coming from. So we have purposely brought them down, so they're not going back into the neighborhood area. So we have, through our landscaping and berming and actual positioning of the store, you can see how low it is compared to the north property line, and through the use of our curb cuts in terms of the location of where you enter and where you exit, we are making the most separation and keeping that away from any of the concerns that you may have heard of in the letters. Again, we're using high quality materials. This is the detention area right here. We are required by code that the current runoff that is occurring right now, the rain that hits in the middle of this field and runs off the property, we are, right now it's just running it off. And then everything's coming down into this corner. This is about 777 and this is 800. So you're about 23 feet of height difference from our southeast to our northwest corner. Every drop of rain on that is being soaked in or being run off. We are required to have, through all our storms, we cannot flow onto IDOT's roads. We will be going into catch basins. The catch basins have these petroleum filters in them. Then from the catch basin, it goes to an aqua swirl, which again separates any particulate matter in there. And then finally it will go into the detention pond that will have the wetland plantings. And so we have like a 3-tier system, and then we'll be released at a rate slower than what is currently doing today. In addition to that, we have 20 additional acres of land that's flowing onto our property that we are also allowing it, we're still receiving that water and bringing it through this detention pond. So this detention pond is not only sized for our development, but that additional water that's currently coming onto the property today. So we're looking at it from an overall benefit from that standpoint as well. Just a couple of more details, and then I'll open for questions. We have yard lights are all LED lights. LED stands for light emitting diode, and what it is, it's a different type of light than your fluorescent light. You use gas here to make this light. And the light emitting diode is basically a small mini computer drill, and you can really control the optics. So I'm sure you're all aware of the old gas stations that had the Scottsdale lenses that stuck below the canopy and glared and you could see them for a mile. These are all up in the canopy or all in the housing fixture for the light bulb, all flush, and they're all forward directed. So that's the nice thing about LED. You can direct those within a 2-foot square foot area. So that's why like the faces of the dispensers are illuminated. Because this isn't a parking lot out here. This is a task-oriented environment. And so we light the face of those dispensers so that people see where they need to drive, but also the buttons to push in that. So the light is very well controlled. And again, we're down here at 777. You know, we're up here at 800. We've got a 5 to 6 foot burn from that side, actually a 10 to 12 on our side because the way the land comes down. So we have a very huge separation between the two. Just very quickly, we want to show that this is a full masonry bearing building. Every single wall is masonry bearing. It is not a wood stud building. It is a statement of the commitment of Speedway to their community. They are very big in charitable events. They are one of the main leading providers for the Children's Miracle Network. In fact, the Laurie Hospital downtown is named an area for Speedway because of all that they produce. So all the money that's raised in the stores in this area stays in this area and goes to charity of that event. And that's reflected in the building materials, full masonry, architectural style shingles. You can see the earth tone canopy, so really made to blend in and really, to be quite frankly, a very nice design. So with that, we're available for questions. The other variances, I believe, were pretty much straightforward. Across the street is an old gas station, which if it's not operating, we're not asking for it. And the other thing is just this width right here to allow the trucks to, so that they don't pull out onto oncoming traffic. So that's why we want to give them that radius. And thank you for your time.
Great, thank you so much. Staff, please give us your report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the requested actions, this evening are annexation. The city council will really take up that question, but the zoning map amendment to C2 is one that the commission will consider. The conditional use permit for a fueling station, a variance for a automobile service station. Really, this variance is not even going to be considered because the fueling station across the street, the tanks have been removed for years, so it's not really a service station. It's kind of a vacant site, so that's not really, that's kind of off the table as a variance. A variance to allow 25 parking stalls in the front of the convenience store without a parking lot island. A variance to allow for no landscaping around the building foundation, and a variance for a larger driveway width along Ringwood Road for the truck exit. The applicant has also applied for 4 sign variances. Now, the Planning and Zoning Commission doesn't consider sign variances. The City Council will consider them. So those really, while they're included with the packet, will be discussed at the City Council level when they go to City Council. So the actions I just kind of stated are the actions that the Planning and Zoning Commission will discuss this evening. There's been a few, since I've been here, a few land uses that have been proposed on this property over the past 15, 20 years. Many years ago, a Road Ranger fueling station was proposed at this site over 10 years ago. However, low traffic counts, lack of rooftops, development halt, have prevented large commercial developments, and this is in the city's West Route 120 Corridor Enhancement Initiative. So we're really trying to develop this area of town The applicant Speedway is proposing to construct, as you can see, its prototype fueling center with convenience store, a fueling center with 16 fueling positions, 8 pumps, and then 2 fueling dispensing lanes for the CFL, or the commercial truck fueling lanes. The property is unincorporated, as they had stated. The applicant is seeking a zoning map amendment to C2 neighborhood commercial. The city has 5 commercial zoning classifications, C1 to C5. C5 is the most intense. So C2 is the up the ladder, not that far up the ladder of intensity. This zoning classification is consistent with the zoning to the east, the northeast corner of Ringwood and Route 120, the southwest corner of Ringwood, of Route 120 and Curran Road, Illinois State Bank, that's zone C2. The site is on a major route, obviously Route 120 and along Ringwood Road is at a lighted intersection. It's kind of an ideal site for a fueling station. There's considerable traffic on both these roadways. And there's considerable residential development within a 5-mile radius of this intersection. So staff definitely supports the requested zoning map amendment to C2. The applicant is also requesting a conditional use permit to allow an automobile fueling station at this site. 3 access points are proposed. The full access is proposed off of Illinois Route 120 and a right-in, right-out off of Ringwood Road. And then while the gentleman was explaining that truck access effectively looks like a full access off Ringwood Road, but effectively it is a right only. So the trucks can navigate that radius. So they're effectively going in off of 120 and then they're going back onto 120. It looks like a full access, but effectively it only serves as a right going south.
We have do not enter signs on the
Okay, yeah, do not enter signs going, they can put that on there. There was a traffic study submitted as part of the application, and we did have our engineer review the traffic study that just came back, and they concurred with the traffic impact study our engineer did, and all the analysis that the traffic impact study did show that they completed in their analysis, you know, the counts, the modeling and all that, the proximity to the school and all that analysis, our engineer did concur with that. Route 120 is a strategic regional arterial. That's just a term IDOT uses as a, meaning it's a roadway that they consider in terms of access points. They want access so many every half mile instead of every quarter mile. They look at things more closely. This intersection, or Route 120 at this point, has an average daily traffic count of 15,000 to 19,000 cars a day, or vehicles per day, I should say. And trip generation to a fueling center is a function of a lot of pass-by traffic. So a lot of cars, they don't plan on going to fueling centers. A lot of cars that drive by stop at them, 60%. So that's the national average by the Institute of Transportation Engineers. I would think it'd be a little higher, but that's what the Institute of Transportation Engineers has said. Additionally, the fueling center, and this was looked at specifically in the traffic study. I know there were some concerns that stated they would not adversely impact the traffic flow of Parkland School. I did forward all these documents to the superintendent of District 15 and all the correspondence that I did receive. And they looked at the beginning time and dismissal time, so I did take that into consideration. An eastbound left turn lane is being required on Route 120 and can be accommodated with the existing right-of-way, within the existing right-of-way on Route 120, and is being shown by the applicant as well. The applicant stated LED lighting is being used, and I'm sure everyone has seen LED lighting on gas stations. Before 10 years, I don't know how many years ago, gas stations could light up a football field, or you could see them from a mile away. LED lighting is very concentrated. There's 400 feet of distance between where this site sits and the property to the north. This property is essentially bisected, and I think there could be something built north of this property, essentially if Speedway wanted have something built to the north, or they wanted to sell it to somebody, that could happen. That's how much property is left over. A landscape buffer along the north property line is required. That's partially being completed on, directly north of the fueling center. It's also being completed by the berm. So that has to be 15 feet of space as well as 5 feet of height. So they're accomplishing that with a berm and pure space. And that will be looked at by, the city has a forester. We look at all landscape plans, the forester does, when they're submitted, if this goes forward and through permitting and stuff like that. As they stated, there'd be no overnight parking of commercial trucks or any type of truck stop amenities. Even though this is technically considered a truck stop, it is not your truck stop you would see off a highway. Sidewalks are required along Route 120 and along Ringwood Road by the city's ordinance. So that's something that the applicant, that we pointed out to the applicant. As far as the variances go, again, the spacing of the service stations, the one across the street, I'm not considering a service station just because it's really not. It doesn't have tanks to the ground, it's not functioning as one. The variance for the driveway along Ringwood Road, don't have a problem with. They have to accommodate the width for the trucks, and that they need the space to do. The variance for the parking stalls, we require one parking on landscape island per 15 spaces, and they're requesting a variance not to do that. While I understand the applicant's request and their sentiment, I don't believe that they have met the criteria for that variance. We have, the commission has to look at specific tables when they consider a zoning map amendment, a conditional use and variances, and the gentleman went through the variance, criteria, and I don't feel that the variance is justified in this case. And again, I would have to say the same for the building foundation landscaping. I do agree with some of the comments that some of the landscaping may be trampled, but I can't support the variance for that because I could apply that easily to other properties. I just don't see the hardship or the unique circumstances to this property because I could apply it to other QSRs or fueling stations, quick service restaurants, sorry. And so I really can't support that. I understand that they put landscaping on other parts of the site, but I just don't feel it met the criteria of the variance for not putting landscaping around the building. So staff's recommendation at this point is approval of the zoning map amendment to C2 upon annexation, and staff finds the requirements set forth in table 33 have been met. Approval of the conditional use permit to allow the automobile fueling station subject to the conditions, and I put several conditions in there. And then staff finds the requirements of table 31 have been met. Approval of the variance for a wider driveway width along Ringwood Road for the truck exit to approximately 85 feet from 36 feet. And then denial of a variance to eliminate the landscape requirement around the building foundation. Staff finds the requirements set forth in table 32 have not been met. And then denial of a variance to allow 25 parking stalls in the front of the convenience store without a parking lot island. Staff finds the requirements set forth in table 32 have not been met. I guess, the last thing I'll say is, and we did get a communication from Mr. Rex, and the letter is in the staff report, and all the commission members got it, and we also got his comments, and all the commission members got those, and so did the applicant. This is in a very part of town that we're trying to revitalize, and we think this is a good, staff believes this is a good project for this side of town, and hope it spurs additional development. And I'll leave it at that and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Doug. At this time, I would be opening the floor to questions or concerns from the commissioners. And I think just in looking at Mr. Meyer, I'll start down there.
You should probably grab me. I guess I'm kind of siding with the developer on this landscape requirement, Doug, and I'm wondering why you feel it's necessary to have an island in front of the building when it's not symmetrical, number one. And number two, I've seen speedways before with the length of the building with the 25 parking places in front. They're very pleasing to the eye. And as for the landscaping around the building, I'm looking at this picture that these guys are filling up their trucks. The trucks at the back, they've got to get to the front of the building somehow. So you're moving them farther away from the building if they've got to put a sidewalk in, because you're gonna have bushes along the side of the building evidently. I'm just wondering why that's such a big concern.
If I could, let me take a stab at that. Doug's very tired from all he went through there.
Okay.
I think it's a procedural issue. If this were my development, I would have come in and done a PUD. And when you do a PUD, you don't ask for variances, you present a plan, and you say, you know, here's everything I'm asking you for, I'm gonna build it just like this. I think that would have probably been a better approach for this corner. But because they did it the way they did it, and they're rezoning it to whatever class it is, and they have to deal with our ordinances, and our ordinances say exactly what the petitioner said. It says X, and Doug's saying they didn't meet X. So, for that reason, the staff has no choice but to tell you, you know, it didn't meet the requirements. When I get to the city council level, I'm gonna give them the option, depending on what goes here, is we'll deal with it in the annexation agreement. You know, I mean, we have all lots of, to me, it's just procedure. I don't, so did I misspeak, or did you have a significant substance point?
No, I absolutely have no problem with their logic or anything. It's simply, I look at the criteria and put it this way, I could go down the road and look at another property and apply the same circumstance.
Right. Okay, no, I understand it now.
He's so it's more technical than anything.
So there's flexibility in that.
I think there is.
Kind of, yeah, okay.
Commissioner Meyer, to answer your question as well, is, to Doug's point, table 32 lists those items, and I think Doug's point is he's just failing to find where that is in place. That does not mean that you can't recommend something else when we get to our motion.
Gotcha.
Completely your call.
Okay.
That's also correct.
All right.
Commissioner Walsh.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Commissioner Thacker.
Yes, where you're gonna have your larger trucks, your two fueling stations, it's pretty much they're gonna fuel and leave, so if in fact they wanted to use your store to purchase something very quickly, the truck's gonna have to stay at the fueling?
No, what we do is this black line is very purposely set apart from the distance, and what we try to do on all our speedway sites is that we have room for the truck that's fueling, a truck that's behind, so there's no mixing up there, and that the truck can pull forward. The majority of our customers will fuel up, they'll pull forward to this line, and then they go into the store itself. There's a back door right through here as well, that they go back in, and they can buy the sandwich, get the Coke and stuff like that. So that's the intent.
Okay,
That's
so
the
if that's,
intent for that big distance.
now if that truck pulled forward, then entered the building, if the truck directly behind him is done fueling and wants to leave and not enter the building, there's gonna be sufficient room for him to get around that truck that was in front of him? Or
No, but
he's gonna have to wait?
you'll have to wait, but
Okay.
we've really never had operation problem with that.
Okay, okay.
No.
Just to clarify that, at those diesel, the commercial fueling site, average number of gallons pumped at that terminal at a time?
It would be what,
About 100 per, so I mean, it takes significant time for them to fuel.
And that's
So
why, so
that
the
could be
availability of
sufficient.
that truck to
Yeah,
pull forward,
yeah.
that driver to maybe go inside and do that next truck pulls in, there's some time to
Right, right.
dispense 100 gallons of fuel, probably is why they're not having a backup, is my guess.
Okay.
And what we have, there's 3 islands here, so we don't want to confuse it, it's not 3 lanes, but the first one has the main, which is, it has the satellite, and then the main, and then the satellite, and the main. So when you're pulling up, and I'm the truck driver, I get out of my side, there will be the main that controls not only the pump on this side that goes into the tank on my side, but I also got a gasoline tank on that side of the tank, and there's a hose over there that I put in there that's controlled back by the main. And so that's why we have 3 islands, just to clarify that. So, but only 2 trucks can fuel at one time.
Additional questions, Commissioner Thacker?
No, that's it.
Excellent. Commissioner Miller?
So actually, my questions have been answered, but I just want them confirmed. It sounded like I heard that perimeter lighting that's on the back side of the asphalt before the detention pond, that would be approximately, or the closest to the residences or the north boundary line, about 400 feet?
No, actually, it would be a little bit more, probably closer to, this one's about 500, this one might be like 480. 400 feet starts from here and goes up.
Okay.
And so we have this additional dimension from that. So what we have is, we have our lights, we have our row of trees, we have the large grass area, we have the berm, then we have the mature trees that are all along the north property line creek area there. So we actually have 1, 2, 3 layers between the lights and the neighbors.
And those would be the LED down-facing lights on that perimeter?
All these are what's called not only down, but they're forward throw.
Right.
So they're directed that the light literally goes forward, it does not go back.
Great, thank you. And then my only other comment is that I concur with Mr. Meyer that I think if we have the ability to grant a variance to the landscaping, that the plan that they're proposing is attractive, and I've also been to Speedway sites that have done something similar, that you've given side landscaping that's appealing to keep that front walk easy to clean and clear of debris. So I think if there's a way for us to work on that variance, I would like to see that, as well as the elimination of the island. Because as I look at other islands that we currently have, they tend to be not maintained very well and they turn into dirt piles. And I think if we have the ability to grant or look at a variance there, I would prefer that versus a nasty island mess that we currently have in other locations. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Commissioner Sabota?
I have a question about employees. How many employees will work at a shift?
Basically 5, right?
Yeah, there's about 5. I think in total they could have between 35 and 40 employees.
Is there
at the
employee
store.
parking anywhere on site?
Well, they try to have the employees park at the furthest point of the store entrance, so they'll park on the sides. Sometimes if we have the ability to wrap it with parking, we'll have them park on the back side of it. But with the commercial fueling, we can't do that, so they'll just park furthest from the entrance so the customers have the least amount of distance in.
And for trucks coming in to load your supply tanks underground, where are they located? And
He would be coming again from the same entrance as the trucks are. Here are the tanks right here underground. So when he pulls in, they always load from the passenger side. So he's coming in and his nose is facing this way. And so quite frankly, they do it because that way the truck protects him while he's fueling. If another truck comes around, there's no problem. So he'll be sitting right here.
that's all I have. Thank you for your detailed explanation. It was very easy to walk through that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sabota. Commissioner Doherty?
Okay, is there any additional lanes, like, Ringwood Road, is there anything that's just stays the same? Is there any sort of,
There will be additional lane, and it's unfortunately not shown within the existing right of way, so we don't have to widen the road, but there's striping right now. We're going to stripe a lane, a left-hand turn lane, designated for a left-hand turn. So that will be modified on 120. On North Ringwood, it was determined via the volumes and the way that we're directing the traffic, and with the granting of the variance of this wider driveway, we would not have to modify Ringwood with the granting of the
right,
variance.
where it widens up then? Okay, you said you maintain the berm area. What type of maintenance do you do on that?
Well, with that, we'll be working with the city forester to determine what type of plantings and that, and then it will just become part of our regular maintenance for all the landscaping from down here all the way to the top. So it'll be a regular maintenance, whether, you know, depending if this is majority sod, it'll be cut, you know, if it's gonna be native plantings, if we have to do the 1 in 3 year clearing and stuff like that.
Okay. I agree with Commissioner Meyer and Miller on the variance, because I've gone to the Speedway, I just went to the one in, it was Lake Barrington.
Okay.
Where it's very close, the parking is very close to the door, and there is none of that, you know, cutting through and going around the plant beds and all that type of thing. I think that's a good thing. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Doherty.
Can I verify one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely, Commissioner Murray.
A couple of these elevations, I just want you to verify my figures, because I'm old and I make mistakes. On your detention area, I've got a 13-foot drop in that. From height, from top to bottom, about 13 feet deep.
Yeah.
And then going back to 400 feet to where you're going near Chesapeake, you've got a 17-foot rise on that, starting from Ringwood Road as it goes up to the back.
Correct.
I figure that's right, okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, right now, from corner to corner, if you take the actual extreme, there's 23.
23?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thanks.
And that's what it is today. Just the right one.
All right.
Additional questions or concerns? Commissioner Meyer? No?
So in conversation, Mr. Martin had said the 3 acres to the north at some point could be sold off or separated. Is that a future plan, or you intend to retain the entire site?
At the moment, we don't have plans to sell it. When we acquire this property, the economics only are just for the entire 7+ acres. In the future, could it be sold? Absolutely, but I don't know. Right now, we don't have the intent to market it immediately.
So your intent is to complete the project as presented and maintain it?
Yep.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Additional questions or concerns before I open it to the public? Excellent. At this time, I'd like to open the public portion of the meeting. At this time, Mr. Rex, if you'd like to step up to the table there.
I would. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. I will swear you in when you sit down there. If you would allow me that, that would be great.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Rex, would you please raise your right hand and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is James Rex. I live at 5606 Chesapeake Drive, directly opposite the proposed berm in Chesapeake Hills.
Great.
And I
You can
thank
have a seat there if you want.
Mr. Meyer for mentioning Chesapeake for the first time tonight. I really appreciate the fact that the name came out for once.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your help. Appreciate that. This reminds me a little bit of Law and Order. First comes the prosecution, then the defense. Mr. Strack, Chairman.
Yes, sir.
And members of the Zoning Commission, Mr. Martin, Director of Economic Development, those representing Speedway, and all other interested parties. Good evening. My name is Jim Rex, one of the 6 residents of the street directly across from the property in question. I don't want Speedway there. And the major quality of life issue will affect all of us in Chesapeake Hills. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of 6 neighbors you notified by certified mail, and others in our community who I met with last week or have talked with by phone. Because the timing of the hearing and the hastiness with which it is occurring, many in Chesapeake Hills are absent tonight, still spending the colder months where it does not snow, I believe. From our kitchen, dining area, and patio, my wife and I can see the parcel on which the proposed development would be made. We're concerned about increases in noise, nighttime lighting, which though explained as to pointing downward and not illuminating the sky, nighttime lighting, and the traffic congestion, a 24-hour a day, 365 days a year Speedway station would create. We are also concerned about potential hazards for both students and the arriving or departing traffic at Parkland Middle School, our friendly neighbors to the southeast. Since the sale is contingent upon a change in zoning, we urge you not to recommend the property be zoned or annexed. Instead, make Steve Speedway look eastward on Elm Street from the site they seem to covet, to the farmland diagonally across the street, or purchase and remove some of the urban blight that already pervades McHenry. Improve McHenry by building a smaller speedway where it will do us the most good. If your commission and Marathon Oil both believe Speedway belongs on Route 120, there are vacant stores, shops, empty or partially occupied office buildings, underutilized restaurants, a probable illegally occupied single-family residence based upon the 6 or 7 cars parked outside of it, next to just east of Happy Jacks. And closer to home, what you referred to as the vacant gas station, I call it the vacant, dilapidated, and ugly gas station on the northeast corner of Ringwood and Route 120. I believe one or more of these likely unprofitable owners would listen to a reasonable purchase offer. Looking all that unattractiveness, we need to ask ourselves, how did we get this far? Out of touch with orderliness, appearance, quality, and reality. Believing we all understand the need for improvement. We just don't agree that a new speedway station that would create more mayhem, congestion, and potential accidents would cause positive change. The opposite could be true. The result of high volume entrance and exits off of 120 at the bottom of the hill, the trucks come barreling down, and the proposed southbound truck entrance and exit, is that correct? There are truck entrance and exit on Ringwood?
No, it's just exit.
Just exit?
Just exit.
Nobody's gonna enter
And
there.
it's southbound only.
And it's, that I realize. Okay. Just exit southbound only. Where did the refueling vehicle come in?
Is it all right? I know it's not protocol. Same thing, they come off 120, they come around here, they fuel, they place the fuel,
Okay.
and then they make a turn that way.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That helps me. Don't recommend the requested zoning change to our city council or vote to annex the land. Chesapeake Hills is already subjected to high traffic volumes and noise from the large trucks and other loud vehicles, many of them using Ringwood as a bypass for Route 31 as it makes its way west through our metropolitan area, which is congested. We are doubly cursed by heavy traffic also. and noise from Route 120 directly to our south. Please don't add insult to our existing injuries. Do everything you can. Right here in this room tonight, we strongly recommend that you recommend no zoning change. Give due diligence to the collateral damage that it would cause the next door neighbors at Parkland Middle School and Chesapeake Hills. School buses and semis are not a good mix. During inclement weather, parents line up to deliver students who usually walk. And by the way, there are about 78% of the students use buses. 22% are walkers or their parents drive them. Anyway, during inclement weather, people line up to deliver their children, and the proposed speedway would not exceed them. And Chesapeake Hills does not want a busy speedway station as its next door neighbor. I should also point out the Speedway is now hiring for a new station in Bolo and 2 other locations reasonably close to McHenry, and has 2 other locations reasonably close to McHenry, near Barrington and Lincoln Hills. And most importantly, neither comes close to a residential area or school. Neither comes close to a residential area or school. Please don't let that happen here either. There are a few other issues that belong on the table tonight. Although not mentioned in the rezoning request, the ingredients are included for yet another electronic gaming establishment, food and alcohol. Could that be in Speedway's future plans? Who knows? They already sell scratch-off lotto tickets. Remember, this is a conjectural theory that none of us want to see take place inside Speedway's proposed cafe. Exclude those potential issues. Do not recommend the zoning change, period. The developer's proposal contains enough traffic statistics to choke a hippopotamus, and certainly more than I'm capable of understanding. Maybe that's why there are so many in the first place. Their section of that proposal is 1/2 inch thick. The stated conclusion, I believe, is that there will be no traffic delays except for about 1/2 hour when Parkland School is in a dismissal mode, a most critical time indeed. All of their favorable conclusions make me highly skeptical of their myriads of statistics. Frankly, it all just works out too perfectly in their favor. I also can't understand how they plan to have vehicles, including truckers, safely exit Route 120. I can foresee multiple directional mayhem. Can't you? Returning to their attractive and tempting cafe, my wife and I, Barb, visited the one at Kelsey Road and Route 14 several days ago. It was busier and far more enticing than I had imagined. No place for diabetics like me. Barb and I agreed that there were more than enough edible and drinkable temptations to change the behavior of Parkland students after and even before school. Of course, they had coffee and a number of flavor-enhancing additives. Also enclosed shelving with trays of delicious-looking fresh bakery goods, heavily frosted donuts. Oh, my goodness. 4 different rows and rows of drink dispensers, sandwiches, and 4 different cup sizes. With lids and then smoothies and snow cones with flavors added at the touch of a button. Candy, lots of it. From bite-sized bars and package-sized delights. Coolers full of soft drinks, power drinks, and a refrigerated beer cave. A standard Marathon feature. Freezers loaded with ice cream, from containers to bars, and the coup de grace, 3-topping pizzas, cooked while you wait. Do you get the picture? Oh, and add to that, inside and outside seating. Another issue, and I think they answered the question, how would Speedway handle the water runoff from the newly paved areas and buildings? The Platte slopes south. The retention basin is shown at the opposite end of the proposed site. How do they plan to make water run uphill? I guess they're going to pump it uphill to the retention basin. And now, my last wonderment. How would they shield Chesapeake Hills from this massive disruption? I can find nothing on the schematics to protect us. In fact, there is nothing to acknowledge that we even exist. No concern shown for us or our quality of life. That is very regrettable, and I believe a serious error. I cannot stop without mentioning that while Chesapeake Hills would watch all this mayhem and disruption take place, their property values would further decline. We invested here expecting its ambience to continue. Recently, a home which was purchased for $275,000 several years ago sold for only $199,000, a loss of 28%, or $76,000. Please consider the additional damage a semi-truck oriented speedway would do to apparently insignificant Chesapeake Hills. I have presented a summary that I and my nearby neighbors see. I recommend not to allow the proposed rezoning. It is harmful to all nearby parties and to 2 existing highly traveled roads, Ringwood and Route 120. Frankly, what they are proposing simply does not belong there. Have mercy on us. If you wouldn't want the speedway next to your homes, please don't agree to place it next to ours. Thank you for your time and your courteous attention.
Thank you, Mr. Rex.
You're welcome. I really don't need this thing, I just use it to try to get sympathy. Thank you.
You dropped,
I got it.
you dropped something on the floor.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Mr. Rex.
You're welcome.
At this time, I'd like to just point out that the additional members who've signed in to speak tonight, in appreciation of time for the evening, if Mr. Rex has already touched on the items that you'd like to discuss as well this evening, if I call your name and you don't want to speak at the podium, that's great. Just raise your hand and let me know that. But again, in trying to save some time, if we've already covered those items, I'd please ask that you abstain from that. Next on the list is John Bruner. Thank you. Frank, and I apologize, I can't read the last name.
Frank Terry's
Frank Serpico, right here.
And you've already spoken, sir? Or did you want to speak on this matter?
Just a quickie when I go up there.
Yes, sir, you can step to the podium, thank you.
Real quickly.
We're okay with the swearing in previously, Frank, thank you.
What Jim Rex said, and I don't know if you fellows know this, if I'm right, you're going to exit onto Ringwood, is that true? Okay, now in the back of that building, you have diesel pumps. You're gonna be bringing in 18-wheelers, I guarantee you. That road there that we're talking about, that Jim Rex met, there's Parkland schools there. Every day at 4 o'clock and in the morning, they're lined up down that street, one after the other, women picking their kids up and delivering them. All over the street, you're gonna bring in 80-foot 18-wheelers and make a swing on that street into those cars. That's wrong. Those are big trucks, and I understand that Speedway's business, Marathon's a big company. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Judy Walter? Judy, please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Judy Walter. I live at 5618 Chesapeake Drive in McHenry. And although I do not face the back of the proposed property, I am one street over and I am a member of the board of the HOA. Okay? The other people have mentioned the school. I am a former high school teacher. I am most concerned about the traffic there going in and out of that school. I see that there is some sort of reconstruction going on now or about to start. Does anyone know what it is about? And does it involve extra lanes for that school so that this gas station doesn't present the problems that it will present unless those lanes are widened?
I think it's just resurfacing.
You think what?
I think it's just resurfacing.
Okay, all righty. All right, Speedway is buying 7.59 acres. They say they're only gonna build on 300 of them. They say that the rest of it is going to contain berms to protect us. First of all, what is to keep you from never even getting the berms up, but selling the property before you do the landscaping of it? Once you buy the property, it is up to you.
I'll have Mr. Martin answer that for you.
Well, so part of when this moves forward to city council, we would have to prepare an annexation agreement. So that's a contract between the city and Speedway, and we would have to address some of these issues with Speedway, and that would be one of them, because I was having some of the same thoughts, so we would have to address that in the annexation agreement, among a few other things.
I might add that I do back up everything Jim Rex said. He was one of the ones that faces the back of the gas station, and so what he said works for all of us. Are there any more public meetings about this before it goes to city council?
No, tonight is the public hearing for the zoning, and then there will be a public hearing, assuming there's a recommendation that comes out tonight, there will be a public hearing on the annexation agreement. Now, the neighbors are not notified. That's a statutory notice that goes in the paper, but we'll certainly let you know when the council meeting is, and you certainly could participate in that meeting, but it's not like there's letters sent out again.
Okay. Am I correct, this gas station will be open 24/7? All of a sudden, as this has progressed for the past 2 or 3 weeks, I would not have been against so much a smaller gas station, but this thing is a behemoth, and it keeps just getting bigger and bigger as far as I can see. For example, that 80-foot sign request, was that a typo in the request? I cannot fathom an 80-foot high sign going down the main drag of Little Old Henry.
So the sign variances will be considered by the city council. That's the initial request by Speedway. We didn't address that tonight because that's not the purview of the commission, but certainly that will be addressed at the city council level.
Well, I certainly hope so, because that's just an horrible, huge sign, that's for an interstate. I am also, and the signage I take will be considered at the city council too, because you are more than doubling the limit of the signage area from 200 to 426 square feet.
Right, there's 4 variances they're requesting, they'll all be
Yes,
considered.
and my
Yep.
question is, who sets these limits for starters? And why have a limit if all you're gonna do is exceed it?
Well, the sign regulations are in the municipal code, so that's where the regulations are to begin with. And Speedway or any applicant can request whatever they want as far as the variance is concerned. And then there are certain criteria, just like there are tables for what they're being asked for tonight, there are standards for sign variances. And those will be considered by the city council, and those standards will be looked at that time.
So just because they ask for it and it is approved tonight, it doesn't mean it's a done deal?
The signs are not being considered or voted on tonight.
Okay, good, all right. The 25 parking areas, may I ask, Speedway, just what is your cafe going to consist of? According to the paper this morning, it's going to be 4,600 square feet. That's huge. That's bigger than the whole house I used to own.
Do you want us to answer these questions, or should we do it in protocol and
No,
address
I
them
would
in
try and
motion?
answer it, so
Yeah,
I'm not sure what the
okay.
question is, but if you understand it.
4,600 is actually very small for a C-store. That's a commercial store. It's like a McDonald's, a Burger King. We're seeing stores, C-stores are in 6,000, 8,000. We have one out to bid in Devon, Indiana for 20,000 square feet right now. So 4,600 is actually a small size.
Is this a sit-down cafe?
It is not a sit-down and service type thing. You can order your sandwich inside the store, and then you can have the option of taking it with you out, or there are some seats in a defined area that you could sit down and eat your sandwich there.
The whole thing just seems huge with a need for 25 parking places for what I was told was a convenience store.
Sir, can you clarify 4,600 feet is the whole inside?
Yeah.
4,600 square feet is the actual.
Yeah, it's not just the cafe, it's the whole store.
The entire building.
So like
The whole building?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
that's the whole building.
Okay, is that why you need 25 parking places?
Actually, with the regulations for the zoning.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is why.
It is mandated on a
Oh,
square
it
foot
is?
basis.
All right. Okay, now, what kind of food? What, sandwiches, hot dogs that roll around on rollers?
No, this is actually very nice, very fresh food. You have a chance ordering of paninis, hamburgers, a variety of products that are actually very good in terms of taste.
Did you listen to me, Judy?
I couldn't hear you on what? I understand what you're saying, but I agree with him. That's gonna be a draw for these kids, there's no question about it. I understand liquor and cigarettes will be sold at this facility. Is there any regulation anywhere in the city that says there has to be a certain distance between the sale of liquor and cigarettes and a school?
Right now, cigarettes, no. Alcohol, the city, the municipal code says 100 feet door to the nearest door of the school for educational purposes.
Okay, I just had these questions.
Sure. That's no problem.
All right, this privacy berm, I like the idea. I admire Speedway for wanting to do as much landscaping as possible between the gas station, the fueling station, and us. However, I don't think 5 to 6 feet of a berm on our side is enough to keep these fine people from being able to see your gas station from their front door, much less their second floor. I would suggest a plan for either taller trees or a fence up on top of the berm or something. But I feel like that Speedway, if this does go through, owes us at least a block from their line of sight. Now, I want to get to the 2 driveways on Ringwood Road. Nobody's even mentioned that second driveway right out, right in. That driveway seems completely superfluous to me. It's very close to the big, huge driveway that you want the variance for, and yet it really provides no purpose except for traffic that is coming down Ringwood Road.
No, the driveways are very particular in their design. One is intended for the trucks only. This is where the trucks will be exiting, and only trucks will be exiting, and only exiting, not entering. So this is only for trucks exiting. This entrance is for right in for the autos. So there won't be any trucks allowed to go through here. And quite frankly, the geometry wouldn't support.
They wouldn't allow it, I understand.
And
that.
so we have cars coming in here and cars can come out. What we purposely do is we separate, and if you don't mind if I show the audience. What we purposely do is we separate the truck traffic from the auto traffic. So the auto traffic is all contained in here. They enter and exit here. They can enter or exit this point. But other than that, they are not crossing paths. Very conscious effort of doing that.
So cars will enter and exit off of 120 as well as Ringwood Road.
Correct, in both locations.
What is to keep them from turning left into that big driveway on Ringwood Road? The big driveway for trucks.
Okay, I mean, you're saying what's keeping them from
on
doing
Ringwood
this?
Road.
Going north on Ringwood and then left into the big entrance.
We put a big do not enter sign.
We have actually do not enter signs on both locations here. We also have do not enter signs on here. Can I say 100% that someone's not going to be able to do that? People drive through stores. We've had people in stores in their cars. So everything that we can do physically in terms of signage and the angle is to prevent them from doing that.
Well, I've heard that Speedway is quite good about taking care of its neighbors. And if you can take care of that berm problem, that would be a pleasant surprise for us. I am not in favor of the gas station per se. I wish it were smaller. And I'm also concerned about what they're selling it before they even get their landscaping up. It's a very good possibility, unless you take care of that situation. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you at the council meeting.
Thank you, Judy. John is the last person I have on the list.
And I only need about 2 minutes.
Yes, sir, not a problem. Before I give you that too, sir, would you please raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
To both of those.
Thank you, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
I am John Soul. I live at 5604 Chesapeake Drive, and I will be one of the people who will be facing this proposed gas station. And by the way, I disagree. It's not a gas station. It's a truck stop. Your facilities in Lake in the Hills and in Lake Barrington, those are gas stations. This is going to be a truck stop. So let's not kid each other. A couple of issues. First of all, we're not talking about a normal 8 to 8. Just imagine if your home is where ours are located, right across the hill, right up the hill from where this proposed facility is going to be. This is not a normal business. They're not open 8 to 8. They're open 300. They're open 12, 24 hours. So what does that mean? It means lights. It means noise. We've got, with the weather getting better now, we are infested with motorcycles, we hear them all the time, and now we're gonna give them a place to congregate. Is that really what we wanna do? I've never been in a gas station where you didn't have spills. And this one is gonna be a big one, and you've got an ample opportunity to have spills, and where you've got spills, you've got fumes. We like to spend some of our time in the summertime sitting on our patios which front the streets and which is gonna front this facility. Picture yourself having a glass of wine or having a nice dinner on your patio and for this facility. Makes you kind of think about things, doesn't it? And then finally, we got the issue of trash, and we know what people are. Rather than take things where they're going to put, wherever they belong, they will throw them all over. And we're gonna have stuff floating, that's gonna be floating all over the place. So my final question is, with all the places you could put this thing, there's 8 miles of property that's for sale west on 120. Why do you gotta put it here? Why do you put it here where you're gonna have difficulty with the residents? So I'm asking you also, please, 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 don't grant the variance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do I have additional members from the gallery that would like to speak on this matter? Seeing no movement at this point, I will close the public portion of the meeting. Back to the commissioners for questions or concerns. Commissioner Miller.
Actually, I just have a question for Jim and John and Julie, if that's appropriate.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So since you've seen their presentation this evening and been presented with an oral presentation, does that change any of your concerns with the distances, that the setback of the extra acreage on the north, with the berm, with the preservation, the water retention area? Does any of that change any of your concerns?
If I may.
Please.
What still bothers me greatly is the expanse of vacant land between the end of the gas station and our protective berm, which I agree needs to be higher or increased. And something that could possibly go in there at a later date, which we don't know, and they don't know either. They have no plans to put anything there, but it could happen in the future. And who knows what the next legion of people from Speedway will think about that piece of vacant land in there. They may want to sell it and put McDonald's there or something. I don't know, but I'm still concerned about that, about the possibilities of what could develop there. Sorry.
Okay. John, you shook your head that the presentation didn't change any of your concerns?
No, it really didn't, because this is our home. This is our place. And we, as Jim said, our quality of life is a major concern to us. And we have no profit motive in this. We have no financial, we do have some financial interest, obviously, and that's the property, that's the value of our property. But what we're looking for is, we would prefer to have somebody come in there that's gonna run a normal business during normal hours. And we don't have to contend with the smells and the noise and all the other nonsense that's gonna go on. Having diesel trucks sitting over there and fueling and having the diesels run continually. And you can have a series of these problems. The 2 facilities that we looked at in Lake in the Hills and also in Barrington have no truck facility. Isn't that interesting? Why is that? And here they want to put it over here. Are we so blessed? Why?
Additional questions or concerns from the commissioners?
Any ideas, on making the berm? You know, any tweaking of the berm that you can think of after, this thing?
We certainly are aware that we also need to work with the city forester in terms of not just berm, of what plants are there and certain.
Anything else, Commissioner Doherty?
No, that's it.
Commissioner Sabota?
I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Miller?
Good.
Commissioner Thacker?
Good.
Commissioner Walsh?
No, sir.
Commissioner Meyer?
Good.
Excellent, thank you so much. If there are no additional questions or concerns, you may amend your motion if you would like to eliminate the parking island or landscape that was recommended denial from staff. You just have to put the right.
You can make any motion you want.
You can make any motion you want, so I'm looking for a motion on tonight's topic, and you may amend that as you so please. Just please make it clear for me so that I can get that in writing, and so can staff.
But as we talked about earlier, as explained by David, that could be dealt with in the annexation agreement, correct?
Correct.
I mean, we could approve this as written.
You could approve it as written, and it could be addressed
Within
from
the
council
annexation
in however that may be, whether that be council vote or whether that be the annexation agreement, either one of those. We are merely a recommending body. Council can make their own decision on that moving forward.
When the zoning board sends a recommendation negative on a particular aspect of a variation, that'll increase the requirement to be adopted at the city council level on those topics.
So if we've got a strong feeling that the denial is not appropriate.
You know, the important thing here isn't so much the recommendation, it's conveying your idea to the city council. And I know we all understand what that idea is, it's just a matter of getting it across. So if you're going to vote or recommend in favor of the recommendation by the staff as is with the 2 denials, then when we get finished with the vote or in the middle of the discussion, it should certainly be made part of the minutes that it's not that you're denying the 2 variances, you think they should be granted in whatever fashion that, you know, I mean, express your thought. That's important for the city council to consider.
Okay.
Otherwise, the opposite motion would be a motion to approve the proposed recommendation as written, except the 2 denials are not denials, they're approvals, if you're gonna go that direction.
Okay.
Is that clear for the commissioners? Commissioner Miller?
So I still have an agreement with the residents that I would like to see a larger berm or something on that northern edge. I think your proposed development is attractive and would work. Yet, I hear their concerns and I want that addressed. So how do I address that in a motion?
When
How
you
do
say
I-
larger berm, you mean a 10
Taller.
foot, how tall?
I don't know.
Well, okay, I don't think and then again, I think the point is to get that concern across to the
Right.
city council.
And that's what I would like
So-
to see somewhere in a bullet point.
Okay, well, why don't we just have a follow-up action after the motion's made? Then I think there should be comments, you know, a consensus on a couple of different issues that we
Perfect.
know exist.
Thank you.
And whether it's a higher berm or a fence or nothing, or bushes or whatever they're talking about, you know, those are the things that have to be dealt with.
I would just
We
like to
understand that.
maximize,
Yeah.
with some agreement, what that separation is gonna be.
Right.
Because I agree, I don't think 5 foot's enough.
It's not 5, it's 17.
Yeah, it is.
It's
Okay,
17
got it.
feet.
Got it.
From the gas station side,
Right.
looking north.
Correct.
Yeah,
Because the land rises 23 feet.
right.
400 feet away.
Do we have additional?
The highest point of the berm is 17 feet.
Correct.
And it raises east to west as I read it.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And how tall is your site lighting, your property lighting?
It will be 18 feet.
That's the farthest berm to the north, next to Chesapeake. There's also by the landscape, by the detention pond, there's landscaping, trees, whatever. So there's actually 2 barriers to lighting or whatever you got. based on what I'd see in the plan, right?
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
So at this time, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll try to make one.
Commissioner Meyer,
Approval of a zoning map amendment to C2 neighborhood commercial upon annexation to the city of McHenry. Staff finds the requirements set forth in table 33 have been met. Approval of the conditional use permit to allow an automobile fueling station is subject to the following conditions. There's 1, 2, 3,
6.
4, 5, 6 bullets, okay? Staff finds the requirements set forth in table 31 have been met. Approval of a variance for a wider driveway width along Ringwood Road for the truck exit, approximately 85 feet from 36 feet. Approval of a variance to eliminate the landscaping requirement around the building foundation. Staff finds.
You don't need to do that.
I don't have to read that? Okay. Approval of a variance to allow 25 parking stalls in front of the convenience store without a parking aisle. And that would be it.
that would be it. Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I've got,
You got a tie.
I've got a tie.
We are Russell.
I will go with Commissioner Walsh.
Give it to Brown.
Give it to Brownlee.
At this time, I'd be looking for those additional comments or concerns from commissioners for the record before we make our vote.
My only concern or comment would be that when it's heard by city council and in the annexation agreement, we readdress the berming and screening and we maximize that however we can.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Any other concerns or questions before I call roll? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Walsh? Yes. Commissioner Doherty?
Yes.
Commissioner Straugh?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes, with comments.
Commissioner Meyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Sabota?
Yes, and I'd like to second Commissioner
Comments.
Miller's comment.
Commissioner Thacker?
Yes, I'd like to mirror Commissioner Miller's comments.
Motion carried.
Excellent, thank you. At this time, I'd like to close file Z926. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Are they gonna be up here for the next one?
Oh, yeah. I guess you're not running away. At this time, I'd like to open file Z928. Okay.
Oh.
The applicant, Christian Kalashevsky, did I say that correctly, sir? Thank you. 2675 Kratom Avenue, Hoffman Estates, Illinois, 60192, and Speedway LLC, 539 South Main Street, Findlay, Ohio, 45840. Requested action is zoning map amendment from I-1 to industrial to a C5 commercial highway. Conditional use permit for a gas station. Variance for 2 larger driveway widths along Dayton for a truck entrance and exit. A variance to allow 16 parking stalls in front of the convenience store without a parking lot island, and to have striping instead of parking islands by the tank farms for easier circulation for the fuel tanker. A variance to allow for no landscaping around the building foundation. And lastly, a variance for the subdivision control and development ordinance to allow 3 driveways off Dayton Street as depicted on the site plan. Sign variances will be considered by City Council. The location of the subject property is the southeast corner of Illinois Route 31 and Dayton Street within the Tunyon Industrial Park. I do have return receipts from the certified mail. Also, a signed affidavit from the applicant along with the Northwest Herald publication. Thank you, Doug.
No.
Excellent.
Everyone's all sworn.
You're still sworn, yes. So we're just gonna keep moving on, gentlemen. Tell us why you're here tonight.
All right, we're gonna let Frank handle
Do you
this
mind
one.
if I stand up?
No, absolutely, go ahead.
So we would like to present another speedway site located at the southeast corner of Illinois Route 31 and Dayton Street. This site is about 4.85 acres developed. Like you stated, we will be going for a zoning map amendment from industrial to C5, along with a conditional use permit for a gas station. This site, similar development with the 4600 C-Store Cafe, along with 8 pumps for the auto, 16 fueling positions, and 2 CFL lanes, commercial fueling lanes. What's different about this site is similar, you have auto separated from truck traffic. We like to keep it separate for safety purposes and everything like that. We are asking for a variance to widen these 2 entrances and exits for better circulation and safer circulation for trucks. This is a full access road that trucks come down Dayton, turn in, and then swing around and fuel. Same thing, they can stop here, walk into the C-Store, get what they want, and then come back. This is an exit only, but you can turn left and right. But it's not an entrance. We will have do not enter signs, everything like that. For the auto, you have a full access here, which will meet requirements for the width, but you also have right in, right out along Route 33, or 31, sorry. For this area, we are extending the right turn lane to incorporate the right in for the site, along with the intersection right here. We will need to be talking to the property owner of this to possibly get some more right-of-way taken from them to include a left turn lane and a right turn lane due to the traffic study that came about. Other than that, there is a shared access road that would actually, this is the max property line, so that's this line. So this road actually enters and then connects to Albany Street, which then enters Albany and 31, which is a signalized intersection. This shared access would actually be beneficial for everyone in the industrial park. They can use it. You can go from Albany, enter the site to fuel, or you can bypass and swing out. If people enter this site here, they can also bypass and swing out. There will be a shared access to the property along here. And then there is detention within the circulation of the CFL, along with tension wrapping the CFL shared access, along with 2 mountings with planes and everything. For the variance, for the landscaping, for the foundation, Chris explained it perfectly in the previous, so I'm not gonna dive into that. Along with the island, he explained that, but just to add for us, we are asking for striping here and here instead of islands, because the fuel tanker actually enters the site here, swings, and then fuels here. The positioning of fuel tanks, underground fuel tanks, is here because, like he stated before, the fueler tank fills on the passenger side. So really, the only way around this, if you have the circulation going this way, is putting the tanks here, and that is too far from the auto and diesel. We like to keep it in the center because they do associate with both. There are separate underground tanks per each one, but we like to keep them all isolated together and not separate them.
Well, when do these fueling tanks come to service both sites? Is it in the middle of the night? Is it daytime or not predictable?
It could actually, I mean, obviously it would be ideally off-peak periods, but sometimes July 4th, to get everyone crashing the site, they call up and say, hey, we need a load. And so then they'll come.
It comes locally?
Yeah.
I see. Sorry, go on.
No, that's okay. Other than that, we pushed the site to the west because of the Route 31 taking that will be occurring in the future. As you stated in the staff report, unsure of when it's actually going to do, but we are planning for that.
Show the distance, the two dark lines there.
So this is the existing property line. This will be our new property line with the taking. So we will be losing all of this.
So just to reemphasize, we're already taking IDOT's future plans into consideration in laying out.
And IDOT's gonna let you do a right-in, right-out on the south side, and a full access.
Well, that Dayton's our street.
That's ours.
Data is the city's.
I understand, but it's existing, so a truck's gonna come out of there, potentially turn left onto Dayton. And from Dayton, if you get right away from the Tunyons to the north, I guess, you're gonna turn left and south. Is that right?
No, they're intercirculating in the business park.
I know that, but when he's done, he's gonna come out on Dayton and turn left potentially,
Yeah.
right? Come out to 31, stop, and then turn left on an unlit.
No, that's the reason why we're putting the through
Right,
street
you're
here.
gonna require that,
So
right?
that he can make a right and then come back.
You want him to
the left.
recirculate through and come
Right.
through, okay, that's gonna be required?
We haven't, it's in the traffic study, it's not required.
It's highly encouraged.
Okay, so it's possible
Yeah.
for the truck to turn left and take a shortcut and come onto
Yeah.
31.
And that is why we're putting in that extra lane for the right-hand turn, so we don't delay any traffic there. Sorry, Frank.
The whole point of the Route 31 being expanded is because of the traffic. That's a rough move. Okay, I'm sorry, go on.
No, it's okay.
Finish up.
And those widening things will have to be approved by IDOT. It's on 31, so they're reviewing this all from conceptual phase, and then we'll make final engineering drawings to that.
And like I said, the widening of Dayton, we do have to speak with the neighboring property for the taking of that, which I believe we have not stated or communicated with.
Is that the
yet.
same owner as to what you're buying from?
It is
No.
not.
No, it's not.
We thought it was, it turns out it's not, so we're in the process of contacting them.
And then also with the building elevations, it's the same prototype building as the other.
Just to re-stress that part, it's really a benefit to the whole development, not just us in terms of the additional right lane, the deceleration lane, but then hugely beneficial is.
Oh, absolutely. That's very necessary.
And just to clarify for the commissioners what David stated about, the concern about a truck coming out of there and going left, I think ultimately at the end of the day, IDOT has to approve that as well. If they look at that, would you agree, David, that IDOT's gonna look at that study and what their future plan is at that? And they could potentially say no to that left signal. They may say right out as well.
No. Dayton's not gonna be signaled, is it?
No.
It's too close.
It's too close.
Right. My guess is with the
I just think you gotta
adjacent.
rethink that. I think, I wouldn't wanna do that if I
Well,
was
practically, a
driving.
truck's probably not even gonna try it.
Yeah,
Well, I know, but we're.
They were smart, they take the.
Well, it's
short
a-
road all in. Take the access road over all in.
Yeah.
Turn right out of the fuel station.
Sure.
and over.
Yeah.
Go through the stop.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to mention? I'm sorry.
Bruce, do you have anything else?
Just, one of the things is we're showing that extra lane because the traffic study recommended. Of course, we're waiting for IDOT's blessing on that. They very well might not say it, and we won't need that. And then we'll definitely have signage for trucks that are southbound on 31, make a right and go from there.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's gonna be IDOT's decision, so.
And again, what I said earlier about the convenience and safety is so true. If
Sure.
someone feels unsafe or it is inconvenient, it's down to the next station.
Excellent.
Along with this road improvement here, we are widening this turn to allow a truck to safely make that turn without crossing over the lanes.
Oh, okay.
So you'll re-radius the corner when you do the decel lane?
Which involves moving some utility
Sure.
poles and
Mhm.
stuff like that, so it's somewhat of a big hit.
Sure.
And you'll still be good on the new right-of-way line?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's what you're.
Yep.
Excellent. Anything else, gentlemen? Shall I turn it over to staff?
Thank
Please
you.
give us your report.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. So the requested actions are zoning map amendment from I-1 industrial to C5 highway commercial, conditional use permit for a gas station, variance for 2 larger driveways along Dayton, variance to allow 16 parking stalls in the front of the convenience store without a parking lot island and to have striping. The striping, I don't know if I could find where that was a requirement, so I don't know if you need a variance. And then no landscaping around the building foundation was a variance, and then a variance from the subdivision control and development ordinance to allow 3 driveways off of Dayton Street as depicted on the site plan, and then there's 2 variances from the sign ordinance that the city council will consider.
Could I interrupt?
Sure.
I'd just like to get the city's opinion on, we're saying a variance for 3, 1, 2, 3, but is this considered, since this is a through street, is that considered really a curb cut for us? So I just want to bring.
I was just covering bases, you
Yeah.
know, it's not really it's an add-on.
Yeah.
I just added it just to cover the bases.
Is that on your property?
It's on our property, yes. But it will be a road that's.
It's not a road, so it's a driveway.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my next question. If you're dedicating it, then I think it's a different issue, but.
Well, I don't know, is the extension a public road?
No,
It's all private.
it's all private.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, this is right.
Was that the intent?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So it's private, right?
It's private,
Yep. So the property zone industrial, it has been for many years. It's been undeveloped, obviously. The applicant is seeking a zoning map amendment to C5 highway commercial, which is consistent with the zoning to the west. Gary Lane's directly across the street. There's 2 vacant lots that are subdivided as part of his development there. There's more intense zoning, industrial zoning, adjacent to the remainder of the site. It's located on a major state highway and city industrial park roadway, Route 31, and the applicant, as they had depicted, is seeking access to a lighted intersection at Albany and Route 31. There's considerable traffic on Route 31, including truck traffic, business, industrial traffic. There's a lot of major industrial parks around this area. A lot of semi-traffic goes in and out of this area to the east, the west, the south, the north. I think this gas station is very appropriately located. I think it's a practical, ideal use at this location, and staff supports the zoning map amendment. The applicant's requesting conditional use to allow a fueling station. You see the access points. We did have our engineer look at the traffic study. They did make some recommendations, as you had stated, and ultimately IDOT's gonna have to state whether that you need to put the decel lane on 31, or, you know, so we'll see what IDOT comes back with. But they were pretty much in concurrence with your traffic study, so that was good. So that came back pretty good. The variances, again, for the larger driveway, staff doesn't have a problem with the variance for the maximum driveway width. We limit the driveway width, and this is across the board. It's kind of an old requirement. It's 36-foot width maximum, 3 12-foot lanes. So you have approximately 83 foot and 124 foot, and that's just to accommodate the traffic, and that's fine. We don't think that'll adversely impact land uses. You know, you've got industrial traffic all around you, so we want to make sure the traffic and the radiuses are appropriate for the surrounding area, and the roadway designs are conducive to that as well. You know, I won't go into my speech again about the variances. Thank you. I'll just say again, I understand the sentiment for the variances. I just don't think you meet the exact criteria for table 32 for either the foundation landscaping or the parking lot island. So that's why the recommendation for denial for those. The 3 driveways, The subdivision control development ordinance, which requires simply a consideration before a public body. You don't have to advertise. So that's why I put that on here. It says only one driveway shall be permitted. However, you can have two, but you have three, so that's why I put that on here. And I think that you have appropriate justification for the three driveways, considering separating the truck traffic and the pedestrian, or not pedestrian, the vehicular traffic. So staff supports this variance as well. So the recommendation is approval of the zoning map amendment to C5. Staff finds the requirements in table 33 have been met. Approval of the conditional use for the fueling station with the 3 bullet points. And then the requirements of table 31, approval of the variance for the wider driveway width, approval of the variance for the 3 driveways, and then the denial for the 2 variances for the stalls and the foundation landscaping. I don't have a problem with the striping around the CFL or tanks. I really couldn't find where we require that, but I don't really have an issue with that.
And that one, it has a driveway width along Ringwood Road.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I put Ringwood Road?
Yeah.
Oh. That's just a typo.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
At this time, I'd love to turn it over to the commissioners for comments or concerns. We'll start with Mr. Meyer.
Yeah. On your road that's going through to Albany, that goes through all your property?
Yes, we're buying that strip that goes.
So you got the whole, so you got an easement on that. Some other people's property are buying a strip, is that what you're buying?
Right, we're buying this area right here.
Okay. Any idea in the future if you dedicate that road?
Oh, no, Robert,
Not in the
Yeah,
plans,
we have-
not in the current
Yeah,
plans.
not initially. I mean, we're gonna have
Okay,
a
all right.
maintenance agreement to keep it private, but
That's a good point. Are you guys just gonna maintain that? or-
we're gonna maintain it, yeah.
You're gonna maintain it? Okay.
So is that a separate lot to the east then? Is that one of the subdivided lots of the park?
Yeah, see right here?
Yes, sir. This is a lot right here.
So they're buying that.
And what's happening is the owner of the lot is selling this portion to this gentleman and this portion to Speed.
Yeah, so Tunyon owns all that.
So we lose, so we're losing the usefulness of the southern half of that lot, is that what we're talking about?
No, he's actually.
He's only selling.
He's selling this part to this because they wanna do a future expansion, so they were
Yeah.
looking for some land.
Yeah,
They
that's
didn't
on
wanna
the
buy the
eastern
whole
part.
That's on the eastern
The
side.
western part's history.
The western part will be the road.
Okay.
Which
Got it.
is the benefit for the whole park.
Yeah,
And then I believe, I don't know where that line runs in, it's pretty far east. I was gonna say that road expansion in the future and Tunney's building is fairly close then.
You know, I'm looking at this and we will for the next meeting, we're gonna draw this complete and basically here's his property. This comes through here and we come down here.
Yeah,
and
to
that's
show
where-
all.
Yeah, that would help.
That would help.
Sorry.
That's
No.
actually the usefulness is really just.
Live and learn.
So they're not really.
So they're not really.
Yeah, they're just cutting off.
Yeah.
Got it.
Commissioner Meyer, do you have any additional questions or concerns?
No, I finished, much to your happiness.
Thank you. Commissioner Walsh, do you have anything?
Yeah, I was just wondering what you're gonna serve in your cafe. No, I'm good. Thank you. I'm good.
Thank you. Commissioner Thacker?
No, I'm good.
Commissioner Miller?
I'm good.
Commissioner Sabota? Good. Commissioner Doherty?
Are you gonna build that access road or driveway, whatever, to city specs, or is that in case you do turn it over sometime?
I think there'll even be more than city specs in terms of because we're making it for the semi trucks. So we're gonna be, we might even be up to the IDOT specs, depends on.
Well, that's just in the cross section, but are you gonna have curb and gutter and everything?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah,
he's
I'm
getting
sorry,
at.
yes.
Okay. But in the meantime, you're just gonna maintain it, you're gonna plow it and all that?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Additional questions, Commissioner Doherty?
No, I'm good.
Excellent. At this time, I'd like to turn the meeting over to the public portion.
No comments?
Anyone here in the gallery that would like to speak on this matter, please step to the podium.
I work there.
Please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
John Brunner, I work at 4100 Albany Drive. That a proposed roadway that you've got cutting through by your property line,
Yes, sir.
what are you gonna do with that? Are you gonna fence that off to block it off from yours to our property?
I'm sorry, sir, you're talking about right here?
Yeah. Are you gonna, what are you gonna put here to isolate us from this road here? With trees, a fence, anything? Because we really don't wanna look at your driveway, I'm just kidding, I'm just saying. Are you gonna put anything here?
We weren't planning on it, but,
What is your building?
We can discuss.
Right here.
Right, but
Right
what
next
is
to
it?
it.
Your
His
building is
building
right
is
there.
right here.
Oh, right here?
Yeah.
So it wants to say, oh, is this, oh, so this isn't next to our lot line,
No.
this is where you're driving right through Tunyon's property, right?
Right.
Oh, shit, okay, never mind.
Thank you, sir.
Stay here all night. I didn't see the line there.
Where were you for the last day?
I didn't know they're tearing it.
Anyone else from the gallery that would like to speak on this matter? Excellent. At this time, I'd like to close the public portion of the meeting. Additional questions or concerns from the commissioners? I'd be looking for a motion.
Again, feel free to make whatever recommendation you would like to make.
I will make that motion that we approve a zoning map amendment to C5 Highway Commercial from I1 Industrial, finding that the requirements of Table 33 have been met. I would approve the conditional use permit to allow an automobile fueling station subject to the conditions noted, finding that Table 31 has been met. I would approve the variance for the wider driveway on Dayton Street for the truck exit approximately 86 feet and 124 feet. I would approve the variance from the subdivision control and development ordinance to allow 3 driveways total from Dayton Street as depicted on the site plan. I would approve the variance to allow the elimination of the landscaping requirement around the building. And I think I would approve the variance to allow 16 parking stalls in the front of the convenience store without a parking lot island, and to have the striping instead of parking on the side by the tank farms for easier circulation.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Meyer on a second. Additional questions or concerns from commissioners before we have the clerk call roll? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Walsh?
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty?
Yes.
Commissioner Strack?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer?
Yes.
Commissioner Sabota?
Yes.
Commissioner Thacker?
Yes.
Excellent.
Motion
Motion carried. Thank you so much. This time I'd like to close file Z928. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
David, meeting's not over yet.
At this time, I would like to, before I turn it over to Mr. Martin for his final comments of the evening, I would like to thank Commissioner Meyer for his service on the commission. He has presented his
You took my thunder away.
letter of resignation tonight for tomorrow, so we will be looking to fill that chair. I will work with Mayor Jett to work on filling that position, so we will chat with that soon. Commissioner Meyer, thank you so much.
It's been a
for
pleasure
your
serving with you.
Now I would like to turn it over to Doug for his final thoughts on the evening.
I would like to thank Commissioner Meyer for his service. He's been on for a long time, and I wish him nothing but the best, and congratulations, and you went out with a bang. Tonight was a good meeting.
I did. I should have had my mic on.
And next meeting, we're still planning on May 9th special meeting unless you hear differently. Other than that, May 16th is the next regularly scheduled meeting. We got an application to expand Aldi, and the new one, the one that's open. And then, that's all I got. And then we got a minor variance.
Excellent. Anything else, commissioners, that we need to discuss for this evening?
I thank you for my map. Ooh.
Oh, that's the news, oh, yeah.
Very big one.
Knowing that in the full-size version. It's your
Excellent.
going away present.
Jim's got two, anybody needs an extra one, so.
Excellent. At this time, I would be looking for a motion to adjourn.
Oh, so early?
Hit it.
Meyer, do I
would
have a
make
second?
motion.
Doherty.
Doherty on a second, anyone opposed? Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
No, never.
Good fun.
Thanks, Frank. Expand a little bit.
Thanks, Frank. Nothing against denying a variance, I just have to do my job. But I really don't care that they operate.
I always waited for somebody to come.